Your YouTube's live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee. I am Councillor Julian Spencer, Chair of the committee. I'm supported tonight by various officers, and I would just briefly like them to introduce themselves.
So Richard Bates, Section 151 officer.
Rochelle Tapping, Borough Solicitor and Deputy Monitoring Officer.
Mavis Amuzuakwe, Financial Services Manager and Deputy Section 151 Officer.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of housekeeping points. Members and officers who wish to speak, can you please raise your hands and keep your mic on mute when you're not speaking. This meeting is being webcast, and if there is an interruption in that cast, we'll have to adjourn until the connection is re-established. So moving on to the agenda, we start with the apologies for absence. Christine, could you advise, please?
We have two apologies for absence, one from Councillor David Beeman, who's on Zoom, and the other is Councillor Earwaker.
Item 2, a disclosure of interests. Do we have any?
No disclosure of interest.
So hearing no disclosure of interests, we'll move to question 3. Are there any questions by members of the public?
No, there are not.
On to item 4. Are there any questions from members?
No, there are not.
Councillor Davison has just had to step out, but I believe we're still quorate, so we will just continue. Then on to item 5 of the agenda, which is the proposed changes to the financial procedure rules. And there the recommendation is that this Audit and Risk Committee, we're asked to recommend to full council the revised rules as set out. And those will then be adopted into the Waverley Borough Constitution. But I'd like Mavis, if you could present the report for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair and members. The Audit and Risk Committee are asked to consider the proposed revised financial procedure rules attached in Appendix 1 on pages 9 to 42 of the report pack. The changes from the current Waverley Borough Council financial regulations are summarised on pages 43 to 45. The proposed financial procedure rules will replace our current Waverley Borough Council financial regulations, which were due to expire at the end of September 2024. A copy of the existing financial regulations is also provided on pages 51 to 85. The new proposed financial procedure rules align with the Guildford Borough Council financial procedure rules, so joint officers can make decisions based on the same financial procedure rules, making it easier. There are now a number of requests made of the Audit and Risk Committee as a result of the revised financial procedure rules. A list will be provided to the committee of the items. They will be added as a standing item, and a report on those items will be provided at each meeting, even if it is a nil return. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mavis. Members, do you have any questions for the officer? Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mavis, for this report, in particular the comparisons between previous procedures. My understanding is that there's certain elements within the new procedures that provide further protections for the council. For example, write-offs, where we didn't previously have any limit on write-offs. That's now been implemented. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Mavis, I have a couple of questions. Turning to it's page 21 on item 17.2. It said the council has adopted a risk management policy and strategy, which has been approved by this committee. As you know, we are in the process of having that approved and looking forward to the discussion at our next meeting on that. So I think what I would propose is amending that that 17.2 to say the council will adopt a risk management policy and strategy, which will be approved and recommended for adoption by the Audit and Risk Committee for WBC. Audit and risk will be regularly updated to ensure its continued effectiveness. I hope that members will be happy with that.
We are happy to accept that amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Then the other observation I had, turning to item 23.3, which is on page 26, top of page 27. This is talking about the assets, and it says there that on 23.3D, that the Assistant Director for Assets and Property will ensure non-housing land and buildings are included in the council's asset register where the assets have a value in excess of the council's de minimis levels. In our previous financial procedure and regulations, we had actually identified how those assets should be valued. And I think that's on page 71 of the report. And the two matters in principle was that there that said land and buildings shall be valued in accordance with the SIPFA Code of Practice on Local Authority Accounting in the United Kingdom. And secondly, land and building assets should be valued by a Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, RIC qualified valuer. I believe it's important that we specify that in the amended or in the new one. So again, if the members and officers are comfortable taking that amendment, is to add those two sentences below 23.3C and D.
Agreed.
And are you happy to take that?
We are happy to accept that amendment. Thank you.
The only other comment I've made, I think I commend the clarity of this report. I mean, it's not an easy one in general sense, but it's been made quite easy to read in terms of understanding who the responsibilities are, and I think that's important for the transparency of everything we do. So I like that. Councillor Davidson.
A small and possibly pedantic point. Can I refer you to 2.4? That's on page 11. Everywhere you have very carefully avoided the use of the sexless word they. Could you please do so in this particular paragraph so that the second sentence reads, the Joint Strategic Director responsible for is responsible for the proper administration. You've been consistent everywhere else. It would be nice if that flowed through in this one instance. Pedantism arrives. The other point, if I may, Chairman, this is a lot to absorb in. I didn't get the papers till quite late, post being what it is. But it strikes me as being extraordinarily comprehensive. So comprehensive, I feel a bit worried as if I've missed anything which I should have picked up. It is very, very detailed in coverage, and I must commend you on the work which you've done. And excuse me if I've missed something which I should have picked up.
I find it very difficult to credit you with missing things, Councillor Davison.
Of course, you will get another opportunity at full council to have another read and another opportunity to comment, so.
So can I move that to go on to the recommendation here, that this committee agrees to recommend to full council the revised financial procedure rules as set out in this appendix, and to the council that they be adopted as part of the constitution with the two amendments that we have talked about on risk management and in the asset valuation, and the change of removal of the word they at 2.4.
Agreed.
Is everyone in agreement with that? Thank you very much. Mavis, thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So that then takes us on to item 6, which are the proposed changes to the contract procedure rules. And I would ask Rochelle to just briefly talk us through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. Can I direct you to pages 87 to 128 of your report pack? The proposed contract procedure rules form part of the Constitution. On the 20th of June, the Joint Constitution Group reviewed these revised CPRs. They recommended approval of those rules to the Standards and General Purpose Committee. That committee met on the 1st of July and recommended these revised CPRs to full council. The Audit and Risk Committee is asked to recommend adoption of these revised CPRs also to full council. The CPRs are the same for both Waverley Borough Council and Guildford Borough Council. They help promote more joint working and support transformation. They represent improved governance procedures for each council. There is a reduction in the contract limits, which means that key decisions will only be made by the executive. The changes also implement the changes resulting from the Procurement Act 2023, which comes into force in October of this year, the 28th specifically. There are rules for contracting which are applicable to officers and members alike. And the rules include key principles, statutory requirements, applicable thresholds, non-applicability of thresholds, waivers, social value, and a quick reference guide. In relation to page 107, paragraph 13.7, which talks about reporting for waivers, there will be an annual report for all waivers, even if there is a nil return. Happy to take questions. I recommend the report to the committee.
Thank you, Rochelle. Any questions for the officer? Hearing none at the moment, I would again also like just to commend you for the clarity of this report, which I think is makes it quite clear what the levels of the procurement, and I think it was appropriate that we have updated it, and I think consolidating and keeping it as straightforward and in line with Guildford makes, to my mind, makes sense to avoid unexpected mistakes. Thank you. Councillor Davison.
Just a quick question, hopefully. We're looking at for both the Waverley and Guildford councils to approve this and also the previous document. is Waverley going first in terms of the schedule? And the follow-up question would be, what is our position should Guildford require significant changes or turn down the recommended new set of procedures?
Thank you, Member. We don't anticipate any obstacle. It has been to the joint review group, which is a collaborative force, sort of focused at collaborative working. So we're not anticipating that obstacle. And the Guildford committee meets next week.
At the same time as, same day as us, or I think that's, are they normally on Thursdays? We're a Tuesday.
I believe the full council for Guildford is the 23rd. So I
Right.
think yours is next week and Guildford's the week after.
Okay, right.
But just to pick up on councillor Davidson's point, you know, if the full council here approves this, then this is the contract procedures for Waverley, regardless of whether Guildford approve or not. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On the modern slavery element.
Thank you. Yes, there was one just general observation I had, which actually I think was came up in the annex, which itemized some of the changes. On page 127, there is obviously a model slavery provision there, and the comment was that there is no change for Guildford, but Waverley has not adopted a modern slavery motion or charter and has no obligation. So there's a slight variation in the drafting. Yeah, that struck me as somewhat odd. Could you update us on what the status for Waverley in terms of the modern slavery considerations are?
Thank you, Chair. So the motion was considered in 2019. However, we didn't adopt a charter. The executive will consider the charter tomorrow at its meeting and recommend the charter to full council. If the recommendation goes through on the 16th at full council meeting, then the contract procedure rules will be revised to reflect the charter.
Good, thank you very much. Just my own observation is that it would be appropriate for the council to have a charter of that nature. Good. Well, hearing no other questions or concerns, I'll turn to the recommendation, which is that this committee is asked to recommend to full council these revised contract procedure rules as set out in the appendix to this report, and that they be adopted into the Waverley Borough Council Constitution. Do I have agreement on that motion?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. That's all agreed. And I believe that takes us to the end of the things for today, unless there's any other business from any councillor? No? In which case, I shall at 19:19 close this meeting. Thank you very much.